Hello, welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews. It's Gaming Friday. I'm Gary.
And I'm Jason.
Welcome, Jason, to the show. I think this is your second Gaming Friday.
I think so, yes.
Indeed, and today we got a treat. We are looking back at Ninja Gaiden. Gaiden. Of course, I'll admit, I was one of the people that called it Gaiden. When this game came out, everybody I knew called it Ninja Gaiden. I mean, it's just the way that it's spelt.
I feel it spells it that way. Like, it's not a Y there, but
It's not a G-U-Y, not a Gaiden.
That's right.
Even though it's how it's pronounced. Of course, it was developed by Team Ninja and Tecmo, who, of course, are most famous as well for their Dead or Alive franchise.
That's right. I've seen some of the Dead Alive sort of characters in this, and some of the Dead or Alive fighting games.
Exactly. Well, let's just say that Ryu Hayabusa, who is the protagonist in this game, has been a feature in almost every Dead or Alive game. As a matter of fact, I mean, you go all the way back to Ninja Gaidens. They go all the way back to the Nintendo Entertainment System, back on the original, which I think goes back all the way to 1988, and that was when Tecmo and Team Ninja were working on Ninja Gaiden games. Of course, in Europe they were called Ninja Gaiden, but in Japan, where they were making these games, they were making them for a Japanese audience, essentially. They were not called Ninja Gaiden. It was only in the translation over here. And it's interesting that this 2004 Ninja Gaiden, the actual translation of the word Gaiden is side story. So it's technically Ninja Side Story.
So this guy's a side story to what?
Well, this is actually a prequel to the original Nintendo games. So this tells the origin, essentially, of how Ryu Hayabusa would come to own the Dragon Blade.
All right.
And you also, within this game's story, the Ryu's entire clan is killed. And including Ryu, he's also killed at the beginning of this game.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
right.
then you remember. I remember.
Cool. How can I forget?
And he gets brought back to life, and it's essentially a revenge plot narrative. The game does have quite a lot of, it has some amazingly beautifully animated cut sequences,
Yeah,
which
as
do
you can
push
see.
the story forward.
Yeah.
The voice acting is really good, however, the writing itself is a little bit questionable.
Yeah. It's a Japanese-made game, so you're bound to you have to be forgiving in terms of storyline anyway. You know it's gonna be far-fetched and bizarre, and all a bit weird, really. So like,
Well, that's it. I think they did a fantastic job in when they sat down to make the game. They decided that they were not going to make a game for Japan. They were going to make a game for Western audiences. And so,
Western audiences at the moment.
well, we'll get to that in a minute. And so, but what they did was that they took sort of Western culture, Eastern culture, philosophy, and kind of melded it into this game, which is an amalgamation of kind of both. And I think stylistically, it was a great choice. However, this game, just like the previous game that I talked about on the show, which was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, had an interesting sort of production history getting to where it actually got to today, which is the game that we're playing now. Originally, they wanted to make an arcade game to go into the arcade machines, of course, huge popularity, arcades. But they decided, no, we're going to actually develop Ninja Gaiden for the Dreamcast. But when Sega turned around and said, yeah, Dreamcast is dying, we're not going to make any more games for it, that's the end. So they were like, okay, so we'll make Ninja Gaiden for the PlayStation 2. And it's going to be an exclusive to Sony. And then Microsoft went, here, have a look at what we're doing with the Xbox. And Tecmo and Team Ninja were like, okay, that's it. The original Xbox has more processing power and we can do things that we've not done before. So it eventually became an Xbox exclusive. However, Ninja Gaiden is now available on the PlayStation 2. It then went on to the PlayStation 3. This game has had 2 sequels, Ninja Gaiden 2 in 2008 and Ninja Gaiden 3 in 2012. However, there were also Ninja Gaiden Black, Ninja Gaiden Sigma, Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma, and I don't know what happened to 3 because I'll just say now, 2 was great. 3, Ninja Gaiden 3 is one of the worst games I have ever played. and I will never. It's one of the games I will never revisit. And you can easily see why when you go to play Ninja Gaiden 3 that the original creator of the Ninja Gaiden franchise, who worked specifically on the 2004-2008 version, left the studio.
Yeah.
And so the result is just evident in Ninja Gaiden 3. Now, this game, when it came out, you mentioned earlier, it pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah, damn right.
A lot of control pads were broken. a lot of tempers soar pretty high playing this game.
You can tell why, because as soon as you let up for 1 second, you get punished for it completely.
Absolutely.
Your timing's not there 100%. You are going to get punished by these unforgiving and really high skilled enemies.
Now, you're saying highly skilled enemies. These are the most basic
and
of enemies
exactly.
in the entire game. This is the easiest level. This is the first level, yes.
And the easiest setting, which is normal. There is no...
There is a normal and a hard difficulty.
Yeah, there is no pussy mode.
There is no pussy mode, and that is to say that normal difficulty on this game is standard, and this game's standard difficulty level is other games' nightmare difficulty level. There is a definite skill gap, but that's what I like about this game, is that it kind of, when I play Dark Souls, and I remember Ninja Gaiden for it training you, for it honing you, but not holding your hand. It's like, here's all the things you can do, here's all the weapons, they all have different moves, they all have different uses depending on the enemy you're fighting and the situation that you're in. And it comes down to how you utilize those weapons and skill sets. And so it really does come down to, if you die in this game, it's kind of, it is your fault, but at the same time, it is your learning experience. Because as you play the game, you find yourself getting better, and you have to get better in order to complete the game. And the game is a solid length as well, of at least 15 to 25 hours, kind of depending on your skill range and how you adapt to the environments that this game throws at you. And evidently, just by looking at it, you can easily see that this is an action, adventure, hack and slash with all of the mystique of ninjas. The best sort of ninjas. I fell in love with this game because I love the action. I love the button mechanics in this game, or what real Hayabusa what to do. I mean, some of the stuff that once you progress further in the game, you got so much more opportunities to button bash and combo, and you can actually get some proper action on the go, and it's real cool. Absolutely. Well, this game was... We're talking about the controls for the game, for how it handles. Team Ninja really wanted to make sure that every button that you pressed, Ryu would respond immediately. So that if you spammed buttons, you would you wouldn't respond properly, because it's you inputting the wrong commands at the wrong or right time.
Yeah.
But you literally have to be precise with your buttons. But it is incredibly responsive when it comes to blocking, rolling, wall running, and jumping.
Exactly where you need it.
Exactly where you're aiming is where you will go.
Where to switch enemy as well, you want to concentrate.
Exactly. You've got to be looking at yourself. You've got to be looking at the other ninjas to seeing when they're going to be charging up their attacks and learning the timings.
And where to place your footing, obviously, because I'm now back in this hunt.
Yeah. And so there is a big problem that was it's a genuine complaint. I can understand is the camera angle. You read my mind already. You knew what I was going to say because you're feeling it already. The camera's kind of stuck.
I didn't miss it. I did obviously have completed this game, and I haven't missed this camera. And I know I played press right trigger a lot as well.
Yeah.
Just so I know. Yeah, I know the pain of this camera.
Yeah, controlling the camera is a real pain. It's kind of, the camera does sort of have that cinematic flow behind you movement.
Yeah.
And I know that this game had expansions as well. It had hurricane packs.
Yeah.
And I believe one of those packs allowed you to control the camera angle and move it with the other analog stick, which has kind of become a staple for this genre of game anyway. But it just goes to show how much love and support Team Ninja kept on giving the game way past its release. one of the other huge features about the game, which is it's not really there anymore, it kind of exists on a much bigger scale today, was that it was kind of the beginnings of online consoles.
Yeah.
The original Xbox being online. And so this game offered world tournaments in terms of speed runs, the amount of how quickly you could finish the game, completing it on the hardest difficulty, how many enemies you could kill, all of those sorts of things. And then I think there was sort of the finalists were on like a live gaming show, and it's easy to understand why, because this game had such huge acclaim when it came out. Just looking today at the Metacritic score for the game, it has a 91 out of 100. Ninja Gaiden Black or Ninja Gaiden Sigma, with all of the expansions that this game had, it's a 94 out of 100. Nice. You know, that's just 6 points off a perfect score. That speaks volumes, and I honestly, in my memory of this game, also rate it that highly. It is a sublime experience that you feel immensely satisfied and rewarded as a player just for playing it through and defeating those bosses.
Definitely.
Now, the bosses in this game are hands down some of the hardest bosses in my memory. I many years ago made a video about the top 10 villains.
Yeah.
And when I consider villains, I consider them much more characters than, say, just a boss encounter.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to say her name, and any Ninja Gaiden fan or player will know the name Alma.
Oh my god.
She is one of the toughest fights in this game series.
She's all pink and flying, and
well, that's when you find her in her human form, and you defeat her, and you're like,
have
at it. I've done it.
I've done it. Now you
I
can
did
progress
it.
further.
And now you can progress further
into hell.
And about 6 hours later, she turns up again in a demonic form, and the hell continues. And that's to say that right now all we're seeing in this first level is Ryu versus other ninjas. Oh, speaking of bosses, here's the stage 1 boss.
This boss now. I've played this game enough to know that I can get to this point up pretty well. But I've completed this game about 3 or 4 times, and it's this boss here.
Really? Of all of them?
Of all of them. This boss here took me months. The first time to actually defeat him took me weeks, possibly even months, to defeat him. And only to... I'm not going to spoil it. Let me see if I can actually fight him first. So you can actually see how bad this is.
I know you said it took you months to beat it, and I have to reward you, Jay, for your perseverance at coming back at this, because many another gamer,
died once.
Yeah, many a casual gamer would just concede and give up, but you kept on at it, and that's the thing, is that once you've done it, you progressed and you eventually completed the game, as I did. I also remember taking at least an hour or so figuring out how to do this boss, because this game came at a time when games were feeling a little bit easy.
Yeah.
And of course, I mentioned Ninja Gaiden that came out in 1988. Yeah. That game was also one of the toughest games on the Nintendo. I know the Angry Video Game Nerd did a very amusing video reviewing that game, just highlighting how ridiculously difficult it was. But even then, the game was great to play. It handled smoothly.
God.
You're taking a breath, taking a moment.
I'm going to see if I got any. Oh yeah.
You got 4 elixirs.
All right,
You're gonna heal up.
I'm gonna heal up to full health because I need it.
So this game does have a variety of weapons that you can use. There is, as you saw there, an inventory screen, and items are usable. Once you've used them up, they're gone. But there is a shop system where you can go and buy upgrades and buy extra shurikens, extra elixirs of life. And when you play the game, whenever you defeat an enemy, they either drop an orb, which will give you a little bit of health back, or they'll drop you an orb, which you'll then use as currency. And you'll often or not find that you are at the level that you need to be in order to get through the levels. And the levels in this game, it's again a strange mixture of exploring sort of hell landscapes.
Definitely.
There's like graveyards and churches, but there's also sort of eastern towns. There's the feudal Japan sort of setting, and it does seem weird that you have this sort of look of swords combat, and then later on you're up against the military,
Yeah.
and then the military are coming at you with attack helicopters and tanks, and you're like, I'm dodging missiles. Like, what happened to just the sword fights with the ninjas?
I could not.
It's okay. It's okay. The game over screen in this game is your friend.
Of course, it's my friend.
It's just coming to remind you.
It's 2 words I know oh so well. And back to the just beginning board, I go.
Yes, and you do it again and again and again until you eventually do it. And you know, as I said, that is the rewarding part. And I also say that, yeah, I keep bringing up Dark Souls, but it's that sort of mental training that you have to have in preparation. That it's a different type of game. You're not just going to breeze through it, but you do become invested in the character the more time you spend in it and in the story as it's unveiling. And because you do want to upgrade and go and see what the next type of monsters are that you're going to fight.
Definitely.
Now, what also makes this game really fun, and it was something that the game developers knew going into making the game, was that it had to be viciously gory.
Yeah.
And they did get into a lot of trouble with this game. It actually was censored and I think banned in quite a few countries, and different versions of the game had to be made for those countries in order to exclude specifically decapitations. This was when decapitations in video games was a huge no-no. You just don't do it. So I think it was the American release, which I think was also, which is the one that I ended up importing to play, because be damned if I was going to play Ninja Gaiden without goddamn decapitations. And you just got to appreciate just the little details of blood and gore that's thrown in there. It just adds to the action. It just feels right. And so taking it away is kind of, you know, it's one of those things.
This is what the best ninja game that I've actually ever played. So, like, even like, I hate to say it, even better than like the Shinobis I've grown up with.
Exactly. Well, I mean, Ninja Gaiden sort of shares its heritage with those sorts of games in terms of being a side scroller.
Definitely the same style as well. Like.
And of course, Ninja Gaiden was eventually going to go to the Dreamcast 2 Sega, where Shinobi was rested,
born and died. Like.
Indeed. So, graphics of this game, as you can see, this is, I look at this now, and when I look at Xbox original games, I often or not just comment and go, damn, it's ugly. We knew it was going to be ugly because it is dated, but this game still looks great.
It looks fine.
It still looks fine, and that is a testament to how hard Team Ninja pushed the capabilities of that original Xbox, and it literally just said to people, hey, yeah, we know the next generation's round the corner, but look at what we can still do. And of course they continue to improve upon their graphics with every iteration of future Ninja Gaiden games. Even though the third one is technically better looking than the other two, it is by far a better game.
By far the worst game there is.
Definitely. So I'm also going to say that this game's music score is also really good. Every environment has a fitting music piece to back it, which definitely just immerses you into the game some more. The game's sound effects, all of the chopping noises, all of the blood splatters, all of the blade on blades when they connect, even when you're doing some Jedi stuff and you're blocking bullets from machine guns, just the sound effects all work. All of the creatures have their own sounds. Very, very good. Gameplay. As you can see, it is fast, it's fluid, and you really feel like you are becoming a ninja as you play the game, because, as we said, it's quick responses on the fingers. Everything just sort of gels together really well. There are moments of utter frustration that comes from the game, though, when it comes to jumping platforming. And so, as good as you might get at fighting individual enemies, when it comes to traversing the maps and it becomes a platformer like the original Ninja Gaiden, you can be bashing your head into your controller because you'll keep missing the jumps.
Definitely.
And then you blame yourself because your timing's wrong. And then you try it again and again. But it's still rewarding. Of course, you will also get Nimpo spells. You'll end up being able to use thunder and lightning and ice attacks.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
And so I comes as just a massive recommendation to anyone who has ever heard of the Ninja Gaiden games. If you're interested in a challenge, then and you like the hack and slash formula, I would say definitely get Ninja Gaiden, and I'd also, on that note, also recommend Ninja Gaiden 2 to the same extent. I think if you play this one, you'll definitely want to play the second one.
Definitely.
And as we've said, just ignore the third one.
I would say, like, buy Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Gaiden 2 and obviously play it, but when you do, get some therapy at the same time, because you're going to need someone to help you calm down after losing again and again. And then it's fine, do you know what, it's fine, it's okay to lose, because you need to get over the fact that you are going to lose again and again. But when it comes to it, it is such a great game, and once you like nail it, like, you're taking on like 100 enemies and you like doing like a massive great combo, like it just makes all this game worth it. And as you were saying, like the graphics as well, even now it still looks great, still plays great. Like even now I can just play this right now until like, you know, a good couple of hours into this game and have lots of fun doing it. Like it's no biggie.
Exactly, and I think it's as I said, it eventually it is backwards compatible to the Xbox 360. The game has had numerous ports and expansions, as we said, with the Ninja Gaiden Black or the Ninja Gaiden Sigma, and so they're all worth going back and checking out. Even if you just play the base original game like this one, you're not going to have, well, you are going to have a bad time, but then you're going to
have a great time while having a great bad time.
Exactly, and that is the sort of game that I look out for. Something that is a challenge, that is going to, it's not going to hold your hand all the way through.
No.
And that is what I appreciate in the game. And when I got this game, didn't know that about myself, because when I got this game, I struggled hard, and I admit I busted up a good old controller playing this game, because it is so frustrating, because it is so good, and you do want to progress, and you do want to be able to say, I finished Ninja Gaiden. I do remember Ninja Gaiden 2. I remember finishing it on sort of the Ninja Gaiden 2 offers much more difficulty variation, and I do remember jumping up to the harder difficulties, and yeah, I got my ass handed to me. And then you go and watch someone who play these games through on speed runs and not get hit once. They play it on the hardest difficulty settings and they breeze through it, and then you're like, wow, that looks really easy. And then you try it yourself, and it's just you can definitely use it as a gauge as to how good you are as a gamer. And it's not a bad thing to suck at this game.
No, it means you're just like the rest of us.
It means you're just like the rest of us, and you will get better. And it's that feeling that is, I can't quite describe, that is the selling point for this game, and the reason why I believe it's still so high on the Metacritic scores. Of course, you know, say what you will about Team Ninja. You know, I've not played the last two Dead or Alive games, but I did very much enjoy Dead or Alive 2 and Dead or Alive 3, and Ryu Hayabusa is a kick-ass character.
Definitely.
And I don't know if we're going to see any more Ninja Gaiden games in the future, but
well, they murdered it. They can't bring it back to bring it back to life at the moment.
3 was so horrific indeed that
so bad.
It would need another overhaul, and it was 2012 that game out, so maybe 2024, 2022 we might actually see the next iteration, the next generation again of Ninja Gaidens, because it was a 10-year break plus in between old Ninja Gaidens to the one we're playing now, so maybe we'll see another one in the future.
Yeah, in a long distance away, yeah.
Maybe.
But I have to say, I did actually buy Ninja Gaiden for the Nintendo DS.
Okay.
So it's called Deadly Silence, I think.
That's right, yep.
And it was like a hack and slash swiping game with the pencil. Like.
How did that work?
Very difficult, but once you got it nailed, it was a bunch of laughs. Like it was more of a gimmick more than actually taking things serious like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good rare game actually. Quite glad to have it.
Really?
Yeah.
I
like to have Ninja Gaiden buy just to remind me that this game's solid, and I actually have completed this game.
So it's just nice to have a novelty Ninja Gaiden game to play that's easy.
That's relatively easy. I can say to people who know this game, be like, I completed this game. And they'd be like, oh man, did you?
It is a status thing, and and just when you're watching the end credits go up, you can put the control pad down, what's left of it anyway, and just be like, yes.
breathe a sigh of relief that you don't have to. If you don't want to go back and play the whole thing again.
But the game gets you to the point though that by the time you do finish it, that you are on the cusp of being ready for the next difficulty level, and and then that cycle starts all over again. But that will take in my opinion, that would take a lifetime to accomplish. You would have to be an actual ninja.
An actual ninja, a real life ninja to complete Ninja Gaiden unharmed.
Yep.
It's the only way to complete this game.
Okay, well I think are you heading into the boss room, Big?
I'm gonna try and head into the boss room. I'm gonna give him one more.
You've got to give him one more go.
I'm right outside his door again. That's why I haven't been talking so much.
I know because this is the first time you've come. I've just chucked you the controller, Jay, and said, "Hey,
I'm in." Not after like years and years of playing it. Like I'm normal. I'm like, oh my god. Okay.
And well, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
You're probably doing better than I would do. I'm still feeling absolutely rotten, so my timing and reflexes are kaput. So I'm just looking at this blur of swords and blood, and
thank God that's not me playing.
I'm feeling exactly. Thank God that's not me playing. I'm just feeling the nostalgia for the experience I had with this game, and just hoping to share that with the rest of you guys listening or watching. And if you've played it yourself, you feel the pain when you watch somebody fresh pick up the game, and I could mentor you, but there's nothing I can teach you. It's a case of you just have to keep practicing.
Trial by fire, my friend.
Indeed.
Just a bit like this guy.
Doesn't this guy show up? I know, mild spoilers. Doesn't this guy show up at the end of the game as well?
Yeah, mild spoilers. This guy is not actually a boss. He's actually your friend. and that's the kicker. After like months of not actually doing this, he turns out to be your friend.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, silence.
So, I'm just watching it, and I just want to understand what's going through your mind as you're doing it. You're like, do I block, roll, attack? When do you figure your timings?
I'm just like when any time I've got a little space there, and then run away.
So get in there, tickle him a little bit, and then get away.
Yeah, run away from that thing.
Yeah. Okay, and obviously when you lock up like that, comes a case of spam the attack button.
Spam.
Well. I often found that most of the time bosses that I would be really cautious and really careful of my movements and try and stay away from him as much as possible, and then it would get to the point where you get to the point of utter frustration. You go in there and you just wail on him and just smack him down until he concedes. Just like that. Second time lucky. Very good.
Lucky. That's the spirit.
It's the way of the ninja.
Yeah, it just needed silence and a lot of dodging and a lot of button bashing.
Yep.
That's what needs to be done.
Okay, well, that's gonna bring us to the end of the video. So I just want to say thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Friday with another video game, of course. Film reviews on Thursdays. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Patreon. And just before I sign out, I also just want to say, if I didn't say it in the last video, thanks everyone for listening to the podcast, for downloading it, for leaving your feedback and your comments. And yes, definitely, we are going to do a second podcast, and we're hoping to have that one out early February. As we've said, right now we're looking at doing one a month, because that's just about all we can sort of squeeze in on our timetable as it is. But we're definitely got the theme of it ready, and we're also going to get a couple of guest speakers to come on and talk in that podcast as well. So I just want to say a huge thanks to everyone for your massive support and feedback. It goes a long way, it really does. So big thanks, everyone. See you next time.
See ya.